Hello, everyone. Welcome to Metal Mayhem ROC's YouTube channel. On today's episode, I'm joined by Hugo Valenti, vocalist of Valentine, Open Skyz, and for the last decade plus, fronting the #1 Journey tribute band in the country, Voyage. Hugo joins us today to talk about the newly released Hugo's Voyage album, Inception, an album of all original new music inspired by the music of Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Journey. Hugo, welcome to Metal Mayhem ROC.
So happy to be here, Walt. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. So I think we're close neighbors. I'm located in Jersey, and you are where?
I'm in Islip in Long Island. Yeah, halfway out the island.
All right. Are you a Long Island native?
Long Island, I sure am.
Okay. I'm a diehard Islander fan. So
okay.
Since I'm 53, so since my first game in Nassau Coliseum in 1976, followed them all the way through.
Real deal. Yeah, that's the real. That's a fan, all right.
Yeah. So Hugo, we want to congratulate you on the new album, of course, right? And it's a great one. But what was so intriguing about getting you onto Metal Mayhem ROC is the storyline, because let's be honest, there are lots of tribute bands out there of different variations, different quality, but not all of them will have the, let's say, the professionalism and the musicianship to actually bring new material to life. And that's what I found really, really cool. So we're going to hear a little bit about the backstory about why you guys decided to make a new album. But let's go back a little bit in time. So, of course, fans of 80s rock, early 90s rock will know you as the vocalist from Valentine. You guys changed your name to Open Skyz. You did some solo albums. But just not for too long, but briefly take us through that period of time for you as a performer.
It was so frustrating. Well, we were like stuck in the middle of the big change from like rock and roll to grunge. And it was like right in the middle there, and of course we get signed to Columbia, we get dropped, we get on RCA, we get dropped. And then, the story goes and 2 decades go by. But in the very beginning there, it was so frustrating because I think we had what it took to make some noise, and get out there and do it. It was just at the tail end of rock, and, grunge was coming in, really difficult time. So we kind of looked at each other, the band, we had one more shot. RCA came on and said, you know what, Valentine, it's too cream puffy. You got to change the name. Okay. So we came up with Open Skyz, and, same guys, the band was good. The writing really matured, but it wasn't enough to sustain, what happened in those 90s just knocked us over the head, and everybody,
Yeah, it's funny. We had Mark Evans of Heaven's Edge on. You guys, know Mark probably well. We had him on earlier in the year in the show, and they put out a fantastic new album, again, on Frontiers. But I think they were also a victim of Valentine and Open Skyz. They came in maybe just a year or two late and missed the cut, as they say.
Absolutely. That's what it was. So frustrating, man.
Yeah. So one of my best friends, Mark Ballo, he actually runs a metal podcast as well. We were talking this week, as I told him I was going to have you on the show, and he brought up the point about the infamous Bamboozled show. Yeah. And so apparently this is when you decided to go out and start your Journey tribute album act, but you were called Evolution then, right?
It was Evolution, yeah.
Now, was it with the guys of Valentine? Correct me if I'm wrong. They were your band was your band for Evolution?
Not really. I mean,
okay.
Adam, my guitar player, came in because, he was doing nothing at the time musically. And I'm like, Adam, you got to do this. We're playing in front of boatloads of people. It's fun. And you get your musical yayas out, without, getting disappointed by getting dropped by a major label, So I said, you gotta do this. And he joined the band, and that was fun. Bamboozle was crazy, man. We got hired by Live Nation. They said, gag order, don't say anything. But the idea of Bamboozle, Jersey guy, the Burn Arena over there.
Yep.
Place is packed, 50,000 people. Bamboozle the crowd, mess with the crowd. So we were the special guest. And, looking back, I mean, it's John D'Esposito, who was working for Live Nation at the time, said, you can't tell anybody. Well, it's not really cool when Journey's having lunch 3 hours earlier. And, we're sitting here saying, don't stop believing it. And these kids are going, Mom, look, it's Journey. And it's silly, So, people really needed to do their fact checking. But I think, they really needed to get an okay before doing it. You know, it wasn't proper. Bamboozle the crowd is great, but naturally the following Wednesday, we got a cease and desist saying, hey, pull your video down. What the hell are you guys doing? You know, you can't do that. You know, we found out much more in the course of doing that. Like, Journey has worked so hard for like so many years with intellectual property and these bands that come out and fly scarabs and this. It's really the wrong thing to do. We weren't doing that, but there are so many bands doing that. And I think you have to respect what Journey is and has been for so long. And, you can't be taking logos and this and that. A lot of people do that. And I think with this thing, it was like a slap in our face. Like, we will fly proper from this moment on. And that was years ago now. So
now was that technically, was that the beginning of your Journey tribute, let's say, career, like that show or around that time?
No, not really. We were doing it, but it was on a smaller scale, a lot of clubs, Long Island, tri-state area, and again, it's a great catalog of music. People love it.
Yeah.
And, with what we do in particular, people miss Steve Perry. Phenomenal. He's the best, and he's not doing it anymore. So people miss it. And I think it just gives us that edge over other bands doing the same thing, so that's why we do it, but it was earlier on before that show we started,
Yeah. And Hugo, like I said in the beginning of the show, I'm personally not a big fan of tribute bands at all. I've seen some of them, right? I remember there was a band back out in the 90s called Sabracadabra. They were probably the biggest Black Sabbath tribute band. And listen, performance-wise, music-wise, they were amazing. They were great. But it was too note-to-note, and they tried to look like them and sound like them and dress like them, and you can't replicate that. And that's what I think is interesting about Voyage is, okay, yes, you could say you have some similarities facial-wise and your hair and that kind of thing, but your band is not out there trying to look, Robbie's not trying to look like Neil Schon and that kind of thing. And you guys are professional musicians. You've come from established bands. You're seasoned veterans. And I think that, to me, that if that's the future of what tribute bands are going to be as our forefathers and our heroes retire, that's the way to do it. It can't be these fly-by-night summer town festival bands that come into your town on a Tuesday night and the soccer moms are drinking their wine out of their coffee cups,
right?
And they don't give a shit who's singing. And I got to say, I've seen some Journey bands that are horrific.
Yeah. You put your little boop, put your wig on, and yeah. We're happy to be doing it. For me, I'm not going to dye my hair blonde. I'm just going to do what I do.
Right. I mean, just on a before we get into, let's say, the new product, just on a curiosity note, do you have any connections, let's say, with the official camp? I mean, was it ever a consideration for you to come in and try out? Because, Journey has had Steve Perry, Steve Augeri, Jeff Scott Soto for a little while, then now to Arnell. And what about fan interactions? You got to have some funny stories about people maybe, misinterpreting who you were. Or I wonder if somebody ever went up to Steve Perry and said, "Hey, are you Hugo Valenti?"
Oh God, yeah, God, that's great. No, you know what happened? I never met Steve. Robbie, ironically enough, manages the band Extreme.
Yeah.
When they were in LA making their album, a couple of albums ago, I think, Steve was down like all the time. And him and Nuno have been friends for ages. And he would come down, and he'd come down again. And Robbie flew out to be with the band in a couple of sessions, and Steve was there, and they would talk. And, he absolutely knows about the band. And, listen, it's just an honor. But, Robbie had a great time with Steve. I mean, there was a point way back when John Kolodner, you remember John Kolodner? He was with Geffen. He's the guy in the Aerosmith videos, the round glasses, looks like Lennon, the long beard. So John David Kolodner, right? So he split from Geffen, went to Sony, and one of his bands he was in charge of it was Journey. And I had gotten a phone call way back. I just released my first Hugo solo album in the UK, and he got a hold of the album and got a phone call, called him back, and it was one of those things. Get your Journey records out, man. After the holidays, we'll fly you out, check it out, be with the band. And at the end of the day, I think it was Neil Schon, Jonathan Cain, probably both of them. And looking back, I certainly don't blame them. But they decided it was a little too close, a little too freaky, just getting rid of Steve and having this dude come in. And I totally get it, Steve Borgier was amazing. Arnell is just off the charts. And I think they made the right decision, but it would have been a blast,
Yeah.
I would have sold him records.
That's exactly. So just how long has Voyage been around? Like, and do you guys only play the States? Do you go outside the country? Have you played over in Europe or places like that? Like, what's that career been like?
Nothing overseas, man. Just the States. Okay. Again, with people missing Steve so much, it just puts us a notch above a lot of other bands doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, the opportunities are there, and we're having a great time. Turning people on, man. They're just like, the reviews are so great, and how could you stop something like that? It's just too much fun,
Absolutely. So you talked a little bit about Robbie Hoffman. He's the guitar player. He currently manages Extreme. Tell us about the other guys in the band. I mean, you have Greg Smith, of course. Greg he's got a pedigree of his own. He's played with Rainbow and Joe Lynn Turner and Dokken and Ted Nugent and on and on and on and on. But talk a little bit about the players, at least that played on this album.
We're all pretty much childhood friends, if you can imagine that. I mean, 40 years plus. It's crazy. And with the exception of the Dana, our drummer, Dana Spellman, he's a Boston guy. And again, the boss in the Extreme guys. He plays with Gary Sharon's solo band. So it was one of those things where we hooked up with great drummer, Dana Spellman. But yeah, with Greg, God, Robbie and I have known Greg. Lance, my keyboard player, has known Greg for 40 years. 40 years. And we played the Long Island circuit when Greg was living here. We're all kind of Long Island based. And it's funny, Greg's now in PA, Robbie's in the city, in New York City. Lance and I are on the island. Dana's up in Boston. But we've known each other for so long. Great players, honestly. You don't have to tell Greg, like, what do you feel about this one? You send it to him and you get back like 3 versions of the song, one better than the next, So it was a pretty easy one,
So just like, again, this is the most interesting part of it is, you're talking about Journey, but what made you guys say, you know what, we love each other, the fans love this, there is a real Journey out there, but we want to make our own new songs inspired by the soundscapes and the style of Journey? Like, how did that decision get made? Because I'm certain it wasn't an easy one.
You know what? The pandemic happened, man. I was waiting for a keyboard and finally got one, was sitting around doing nothing. And I'm a piano player first, and a lot of different, inversions and just chords. And with these new sounds, I had this old piece of garbage keyboard that I was playing with for, God, decades. And I said, let me just get a really decent keyboard. Came in and, the sounds just opened up a whole new area in my brain that was kind of down for a while. I said, I'm done. Originals, the industry is so screwed up right now. What's the point, make albums for what? So I kind of put that down. When I got this keyboard, it opened up to the point where, we had Logic. I had my MacBook, would record, send an idea to Robbie. He was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm like, oh, you know what? If you like that, you're really going to like this. Check it out. And I just kept on going. And honestly, well, probably in 2 months' time, 2.5, I must have had 24 songs, just soup to nuts done. So I really wanted to have a Voyage album where everybody comes to the table with 2 or 3 ideas and we have fun with it. It didn't even get a chance to happen because I wasn't about to shut off my switch. I was like, just putting these songs down. And Robbie's like, it's amazing. What else you got? Amazing. What else we got? So before you knew it, we had the songs picked for the album, and I have another album sitting there waiting. So, and then I hit a brick wall, and I was done. I was like, no, I can't write.
Yeah, no. But hey, listen, if you have a second album in the can already, that's amazing. And I got to say, I've listened to the album about 4 or 5 times this week, and it really does carry that essence of what you guys are about and what the band is about. Let's talk about some of the songs, and I'll give you some of my opinions, but I'd like to hear from you more importantly. So, I think there's a variety on the album. You have some of them which are, I say, like your mid-paced, kind of soulful rockers. I love that the piano is showcased so much. And then you have, let's say your typical ballads, 80s style ballads. And then there's a couple of outliers towards the end of the album. But, you start off with a little instrumental, and then songs like Crazy What Love Can Do and Don't Want to Live Without Your Love, right? So my opinions here, again, soulful rockers, lots of harmony. First track has a great 80s bass tone, very poppy keys. The second track, it's very positive and uplifting, that 2-chord piano piece. Love the big catchy chorus, and it just feels like a great arena rock song with a big arena rock solo. So comment a little bit about those two songs.
Yeah, that's it. Crazy What Love Can Do was one of those, again, inversions, B and, a B minor with a G and stuff like that, and you just write these tunes. But Crazy What Love Can Do, honestly, just try a little love, because this world is so screwed up right now, and it's really crazy what love can do if you just give it a moment and realize, some of the lyrics, they kind of go that way. When someone's crying, you can't turn away. Love is the reason you stay, and I had a vision, one dream, one man. It's about, killing Martin Luther King, JFK, RFK. It's like, there are so many ways around it besides, taking a bullet to the head, just try a little love, Don't Want to Live Without You. Love was probably right around the same time. I have a baby grand in my house, and I was just messing with bam, ba, da, 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 dun, dun, dun. And it had that Don't Stop Believing kind of vibe to it. But I said, you know what? They didn't corner the market, Journey, on pounding, keyboard intro. So let me try something like that. Totally different, chord progression, the way they go, but reminiscent, and I always say on these interviews, Walt, that influence makes the world go round, and something like Journey, I'm so happy to be inspired by this great body of music. If you listen to Steve, it's Sam Cooke all over it, whoa, it's like, whoa. Yeah. But to put that to rock and roll, he's the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I couldn't second that more. So let's say through the album, a song like Sound of a Broken Heart, again, another one I love. You got keyboards, guitars, and drum beats subtly support the track. It's soulful, bluesy with a great melodic guitar solo, lots of harmony in the vocal. And then the next track is where you get a little more rock and roll going away. It's a standard rock and roll track, but it's got a nice pace. Guitar work and keyboards are highlighted, and I love the multi-layered harmonies. Yeah. So what about those two tracks?
Again, Sound of a Broken Heart, just wanted to chill out a little bit and get a little smoky with the the vibe and the verses. I can't believe, like easy on it, and then come with the chorus, kick it. Sound of a Broken Heart. You know what? Don't forget, girl, when you needed me, I was there, so it was one of those things. And, again, relationship stuff.
Yep.
Going Away was basically like, don't take shit from anybody, man. At the end of the day, when you're ready, someone's pissing you off, like, I have an idea. Ciao. And you split, man. You're gone. Don't worry, man. Just turn away and get the hell out of there.
Yeah. It's good stories. It's life stories in these, right? This is the life we live in our personal lives, what happens around the world around us. It's all what it's about, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. It would have been so easy to write love song, love lost, love gained. It's like, there are so many other ideas, like the Voyage and stuff,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I want to comment on that track a little bit later, but the one that next comes to mind, A Friend Like You. Now this one, again, it's everything you would imagine to me. Let's say if you had opened your eyes from a movie in 1982, a soundtrack, that would have been placed right on there. I said, oh my God, this is like your typical early 80s power ballad, complete with the saxophone in it. So
yeah, right. That's right.
Really, really cool track. And it really took me back in time to when I was 12 years old.
Great. You know what happened? Robbie always said, this song is great, but we need a sax solo for that. And I already put a keyboard, solo. I'm like, does it really need a sax or whatever? He happened to be in the city, and he called me the next day. He's like, dude, I just caught a Chicago show, the band Chicago, and Ray Herman is their sax player. He was off the charts. He called Steve Falazzo in LA, who produced this album, Steve, and told him the story. And he's like, I'm really, really good friends with the keyboard player. Hold on a second. Within 4 hours, Ray got a version of the song, gave us 3 copies of saxophone on it, and Ray, from Chicago, played saxophone on From Like You. And it was a great, Robbie can get things done,
That's pretty amazing because I picked up on the saxophone. I was listening to it and I said, "Oh, there it is, man! The sax, the missing sax." And yet here there is an actual story about the sax. That's so badass.
Ray Herman, he's a badass man. Robbie was like, I've never heard anybody play, so that worked out so well. But the song is basically about having that best friend. Growing up, we've all had it. And whether you lose touch or come back together years later, or you just don't see each other as often as you'd like, you will always be there, and I'll always be there for you. And that's a friend like you. And it was just a nice play on words,
Absolutely, I like that. It's a heartwarming track. Along those lines, September Love, right? This is I love this one too because it's it's almost like you look at the title, summer ends, boy meets girl, they break up. What's their future going to be? I don't know. Will that love continue? It's another love ballad, and it's just stacked with those 80s ballad kind of cliche lines. I love it. Simple, and an overabundance of them, and the stuff you miss from those days.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's funny. My wife's favorite movie forever is Grease. As it was like summer loving had me a blast. I'm like, it's nothing like that. Nothing like that.
Yeah, in reality, it's not. No.
Yeah, it's like the summertime is over. It's like September Love. The summer's gone, and God, we had the greatest summer. And I didn't think I would miss you as much as I do, and I don't want to be without you. And that's September Love. It was cool.
That's a cool track. So, yeah. Now, again, talking about the let's call it the band name, the title track, whatever you want to call it, Voyage. As I got to the end of the album, I said, okay, I'm 9 songs through. I kind of get the formula here, and then you get to tracks Voyage, and then the ending track, When Heaven Makes an Angel. Now, Voyage, way different, moody. It's a bit trippy, filled with that repeated guitar and key riff throughout. Pace picks up mid-song. Definitely the most rocking track on the album, and some great shredding on the end. So to me, this is like the outlier. Well, I thought it was the outlier until the next track, which is really the outlier.
The Voyage, I was pretty much at song 18, 19, 20 of what would be this, songs to choose, and I said, we need that one song like Styx had, Come Sail Away, something just big, and I said, it's going to be called The Voyage. I just don't know what that is. And I just started messing around, and I went for that whole vibe. It's the voyage. It's the path you've chosen. No matter what, stay steady, stay on that road. When one door closes, another one will open. You'll be fine, so just keep it going. And that's what the voyage is, the voyage will take you away, whatever that is. You'll do it.
You're a very inspirational writer, Hugo, and it sounds like you're a cool guy, very positive, glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah. I think, when you get signed and dropped 5 times, you realize you don't suck. You're just a victim of the industry. So you're like, it's got to be bigger than this, Lord, so, but and we got it. When Heaven Makes an Angel, that Walt is the only song that's not brand new. And by that, I mean year and a half old, year old. With the pandemic, I wrote that when my mom passed in 1999, and later on that year, When Heaven Makes an Angel, it was just this very somber string thing, and trying to live without you, don't know how. When heaven makes an angel, it makes it hard to live again. And everybody can relate to it because everybody has loved and lost, and some people don't get over it.
It's I'll tell you a touching moment. This is the God's honest truth from the heart. I was listening to that song the other day, and I saw my phone beep, and it was my niece, who's an adult, and her mother-in-law passed away that morning unexpectedly, and she was 87, and she was in Delaware. They found her passed out on the floor, and a neighbor found her. And beautiful woman. She was a very kind woman to my kids, and I got the hair stuck up on the back of my neck because I paused that track when I went to look at the text, and that's God's honest truth. And then I told my niece about that, and I was like, listen, I'm going to be doing this interview on Friday. This was on Tuesday. And I said, I at some point, I'm going to send you an MP3 or MP4 of that file, and you're going to listen to it. But it's now all of a sudden connected to me on a personal level with Vilma, who just passed away. And, I thought you could appreciate that. But I love that track because it's different. It's almost like jazzy. It's almost like if you have like a rainy day and you put some sad jazz on, it would fit right in like on a jazz album, you know? And it's really, really nice that you wrote that, and the outpouring of the love for your mother, because I've lost my mother many years ago. I understand that. And what better of a way to have a track that you can give to your generation of your family, and also other people can relate to it as they go on with their own family lives.
That's what it is. That's what it is, Walt. I'm so sorry for that loss. My God. But again, everybody experiences this every day, and I wasn't not going to have it on the album. You know, it's just the ultimate tribute to all of us, which is everyone who have lost. You know. Yeah, but thanks for the kind words. Yeah, it was heartbreak, like everybody.
Yeah. Well, listen, Hugo, it's a good album. I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about all 11 tracks on it. But the magic question I have is, like, can you introduce these new tracks into the live setting in a live show, or do you stay away from that?
You know, it's funny. We'll be doing it. We're playing the Toyota Oakdale Theater in Connecticut, in Wallingford, Connecticut. I believe it's on November 17th, coming up about 2 weeks. And we will do Don't Want to Live Without Your Love. You know, we kind of made a bit of an attempt the other night in the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom, but we decided to pick a sold out show to rehearse the song for all these people. I was like, wait a minute, we need rehearsal, but we did it. But we're gonna knock it out of the park in Wallingford, you know, at the Oakdale Theater. It should be fun. We'll do that song, I think. But you know, people come to hear Journey. It's very Journey-esque, and that's a good thing. But you know, adding a song or so is fine. But you know, they want to hear. Yeah, they want the hits, and they want to hear deep cuts, and they don't want to hear Voyage sing.
Well, but I think you guys owe it to yourselves, because you crafted this stuff, and it is good material, and it fits right in with the Journey catalog. And hey, listen, if you're going to raise some awareness of your band and get people to come out to the merch table and buy the CD, what better of a way to showcase a song, you know? And I don't think this is going to be your typical songs that people are going to go to the piss line or the beer line, right? Like they always say.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah. We're excited. It's a new plateau for this Voyage thing that we set out to do. You know, turning people on, having fun. But the originals just came to me, and like I said, we got a ton more. So there's definitely another album. If it's in the stars, you know, we'll put it out.
Well, Frontiers, I'm sure, loves this, because this is right up their alley. So I'm sure they'll be right there with it. So now, talking about touring, I mean, I see you have dates in Atlantic City. I guess you play sporadically. But a couple cool things that I saw. I didn't get down to M3 this year. I have been there many times before in the past, but Extreme canceled because Nuno blew his knee out playing basketball on the Rock Cruise. You guys jump in, and I was looking at your slot. You guys got like an hour plus set, which, like, holy crap. But I'm assuming maybe the connection with Robbie with the Extreme Camp, is that how you guys kind of filled in? And how did that show go for you?
The show, first of all, Walt, I was like backstage like this. I'm like, I'm going to get beer bottles thrown at me. It's going to be horrific. It's going to be like, boom, pummeled, you know? Yeah, Nuno, we got the word that Nuno hurt. Robbie Cold said, Nuno's out. What are you doing tomorrow? I'm like, you know, what are we doing tomorrow? Anyway, we got it together. We had a great slot to put in there. And it's funny. I read one of the interviews about the thing, the reviews on it. Okay, there's this tribute thing, and people, who gets up and who goes to get the beer, like you're talking about, go pee or go get a beer or do something, and you know, people start. And I think we started with Separate Ways, and we did this, and we had a whole bunch of time. And you know, by the first song, by the second song, by the third song, people are just filing back in, and you know, halfway, 3/4, the place was packed, and they were just singing along. I mean, we had a decent night, considering I was, you know, I can play in front of a couple of thousand people. You know, I get a problem with 6,000-7,000 of them, you know? Especially the potential to get, you know, my ass kicked by a biker, you know.
Well, there's some great pictures of that show out there. And I mean, the one especially you guys have out there where you're turning around facing the crowd. I mean, there's 12,000 people there. But I think from what I saw, you guys went on in that sweet spot, 6 to 7 p.m. range. I mean, that's the perfect time, because people are already there. And now they're hanging. They're not too drunk, but they're there. They didn't get not everybody gets there at 1 p.m. And if you go on at 9, people they're drunk, or they're splitting for the exits, maybe, right?
Right. We had a decent slot. I think some of the other bands may not have been that happy because here we are, a tribute band taking the place of Extreme, and of course you're going to have your diehards. But thank God we've known the guys for so long, so it was one of those, hey, we're filling in. We're no Extreme by any stretch of the imagination, but Nuno blew his knee, and like we're here, and it's going to be fun. Thank God we did it. In retrospect, I was so on the fence. I'm like, Robbie, it's a hard rock festival, and the Slaughter guys, man, we haven't seen those guys. Winger, Paul Taylor, Kit, so good to see these guys. Rod, seen him in ages, and just to reconnect and be like, oh my God. And hearing from like Kip, at the end of it, he's grabbing some like candy from a jar, and he's like, you slayed it, man, you killed it. I'm like, thanks, man, thank you. It was so good to hear from these guys who, peers, and 20 years and 30 years go by, but they're still rocking and rolling, doing it. And, now we have original music, so maybe we can get back there with some original tunes, it'd be great.
You get out there, maybe you do a little bit of your back catalog too. You get back to M3, they'll welcome you back. And listen, I also saw that on your Facebook page, there was a show recently where Nuno came out and he jammed with you guys at a recent show. Where was that at?
He was I guess visiting family. He was back in Boston. He lives in LA, and the rest of the guys are back on the East Coast. So he was in for maybe he was in because I think they were heading out, actually doing some dates with Godsmack, I think Robbie was saying. So Nuno was in town, and Robbie says, Nuno's going to come down. We'll do like any way you want it, love and touch and squeezing, something like that. And it just worked out, and it was cool. I love my bro. We haven't seen him in ages. So whenever he comes up, you know what's funny about Nuno? He walks in, and just seeing him, because we don't see each other as much as we'd like to. Everybody's so busy. But when you look at him and you see him, you realize the layers of talent. I mean, guitar player, singer, songwriter, forget about songwriter, composer, because he just takes a song and makes it the wow factor. I mean, 3 sides to every story. That stuff is just, it's unbelievable. We hear it today and you cry. It's such an amazing stuff. So when you see Nuno walk in a room, you're like, man, how are you, bro? So it was awesome. It was a great experience.
No, that's good to hear. I would love to hear those stories. So listen, we before I let you go out of here, I have a listener question, and this is going to go back to the early stage of your career. So Mark Ballo from Kearney, New Jersey wants to know. He said Valentine did a mini reunion tour in 2019 and then released a collection of demos a few years ago. So he just wants to know, because he's a big fan, is the chapter of that band now closed?
I guess, you never say never. And I love the guys with all my heart. Adam, Gerard, Craig. We have been like family for so long. So they're in fact, they are Steve Borgeri's band. I don't know if you know that. Steve Borgeri tours,
right?
And my old band is his band. It's amazing how we hooked up in England, and that was a great connection. I was like, my God, how great is that? So they're keeping busy with Steve, and it's good. Listen, stranger stuff has happened, but yeah, I would definitely entertain it. I don't know what would we do? Maybe an M3. Who knows?
Well, there you go.
Sure. The guys did.
Well, Hugo, this has been a great conversation. I wish you best with the album. And I've never seen you guys, so if you do come up around North Jersey, I'm going to make sure I'll grab my wife and we'll come out and we'll say hi. We'll have a beer, a glass of wine together. So where can fans find about all about the band? What are your socials? And we'll make sure to have this posted on the video and the homepage as well.
Oh, that's great. Well, yeah, the album is going to be available on the 10th, November 10th. It comes out. You can go to voyageband.com, and there's a link right there to get it as well. We're going to be around, man. We're just happy to be doing it, turning people on. In fact, we're going to be in AC, I think, at the Hard Rock, February, March, maybe something like that.
Okay. So
we'll keep in touch. If you want to take a ride down, just hook up with Robbie, make that happen,
Okay.
But that's it, man. Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. It's good. I haven't put on an album in 20 years. I'm like, yeah, go get it.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
well,
that's good.
Again, Hugo, thanks for your time and best of luck, and have a good weekend. All right. Thank you again.
Brother. Thanks for the time, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.